All right, welcome back to Draws and Fades, episode 134, preview of LIV Jeddah at Royal Greens Golf and Country Club in Saudi Arabia. I'm your host, Owen Brable, joined by my co-host, Matthew Miller.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back.
Welcome back, and this is a special Sunday morning edition of Draws and Fades here, getting a little ahead of the week here, giving you multiple episodes this week. We'll do LIV Jeddah today, and then we will preview the Cognizant next week, formerly known as the Honda Classic. We will preview that tomorrow for the PGA Tour. So yeah, it's Sunday morning. I am in a pretty good spot with Jake Knapp for the PGA Tour this week. So hoping by the time our PGA preview drops, he will have cashed me an outright bet. You get a 4-shot lead over Valimaki, and then 7 shots up on everyone who's tied in third. So let's just say there's been heartbreak this year from the outright betting market for me, but this one would take the cake if I don't win. So let's get it done. Let's get it done, Jake Knapp. But yeah, I'm excited. 2 tournaments this week, so LIV Jeddah, and I'll let you get into it. But we've had some great success over here in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, it's been a kind course to us. Get into a little bit of course preview and then past winners. We could touch on our success here, but par 70, 7,048 yards, Paspalum grass throughout, borders the Red Sea, backdrop on a couple holes. Kind of the course is right along the coast there. So there is, depending on the wind, that could be a potential factor for the week. Brooks Koepka has won this LIV event 2 years in a row. 2023, he won in a playoff over Taylor Gooch. 2022, he won in a playoff over Peter Uihlein. That was kind of his return to victory after all of his struggles. First win since the injury, so it's a pretty significant win for him there. Saudi International also is played at this course. Our boy Abraham Answer won last year. Harold Varner 2022, Dustin Johnson won in 2021 and 2019, and then Graham McDowell won in 2020. So a lot of previous winners at this course in the field this week. LIV guys have had a ton of success, obviously in LIV events, but in the Saudi International as well. It seems like the current LIV players really have cleaned up. As you can see, they have all the winners, but also a ton of other guys have just played really well here and come close to wins. We'll get into that as we go through the board. The course is pretty
funny because it's funny because it's not like Dustin Johnson's wins came before LIV was even a thing. Like, it's not like they were just playing these because they were now on LIV. I mean, DJ won in 2019 and 2021. So, and he finished runner-up to McDowell in 2020. So it's kind of scary.
Yeah, and he's obviously playing extremely well right now. This is a course that he's absolutely dominated in the past. And kind of just briefly before we run through the board, looking at these winners, I mean, there is, like I said, an element of win. The winning scores, like Answer won the Saudi International last year at -19, but when Graham McDowell won, it was only -12, and that's, of course, over 4 rounds as well. There was some wind that year. So there really is different ways to win here. I mean, Harold Varner, I have written down here on my notes from last year, when he won the Saudi International in 2022 at -13, he just cleaned up on the par 5s. He shot -10 on the week on the 2 par 5s, which is pretty absurd. -10 over those 8 holes. The rest of the 64 holes, he only shot -3, and he wins. Dustin Johnson, obviously, kind of bombed his way around the course. But then you have Abraham Answer and Graham McDowell, who are not long hitters at all. They're short, accurate guys. Obviously, G-Mac is a good wind player notoriously, but there's a lot of different ways that you can win here, a lot of different strategies that you could play it. So it kind of brings a lot more guys into the field this week.
Yeah, that seems pretty interesting. I mean, there's guys that I think we'll get into the odds list, but in the middle of the board, there seems to be a ton of value. Because as we know, the top 7 or 8 guys on the LIV odds boards are going to be sub 20 to 1. It's only a 54-man field. So, you're not going to get great odds at the top of the board, but it means we do find some value in the middle. But we are coming off, Neiman and DJ both winning at like 14 to 1, something like that. So, Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what your strategy is in terms of betting this week, because I still am a little tentative on my approach at the top of the board. So we'll see. Do you want to touch on anything else before we get into the odds?
No, I think we could hop into the odds and then kind of go through things as we go along.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I and I'm not sure if you mentioned it, but obviously we hit on Answer when he won here, and I know we hit Brooks the first year. Did we hit him both years?
I had them both years. Yeah, I don't know
I don't
if
think
you
I
were
took
on
him the
both of them.
second
You might
one.
have been on both of them. I don't remember,
Might
but
have been.
yeah, we got a very generous number on Brooks the first year. He was
Right.
like I think he was like 40-1 or something. And then even last year, I think he still went off like 18 or 20 or something like that. We obviously don't have that kind of number on him this week, but we've had a lot of success here and had 3 straight winners at this course. So it feels a little bit of pressure, but can we go for 4 in a row?
Right. Let's hope we can. I think we're in the right mindset. So yeah, so let's get into it. I mean, as you mentioned, we have ton of guys with success here, but John Rahm sold the outright betting favorite at plus 480. So seems like that's kind of where he's gonna live, regardless of course history, regardless of anything. I mean, obviously he has looked pretty good in his first 2 starts, kind of hasn't really done much on Sundays, or it was Saturday the one week, and he hasn't done much in the final round yet this year on LIV, but he's been in the mix, so understandably under 5-1. And then we got Brooks and DJ at 10-1, Neiman at 12, Gooch at 12, Tyrrell Hatton at 12, and then Bryson and Cam Smith between 14 and 16. And then we get that nice jump into the mid 20s. So that's kind of where we're going to be with those 7 guys. They're most likely going to be under 20 often. So did you have any inclination to bet any of them this week, or are you going to skip down to the middle?
It's a nerve-wracking range because you kind of touched on it with Rahm. It feels like we're playing a little bit with fire here because like he's now been in the final group 2 tournaments in a row, and he's had a bad final round. And it's like, if he's hanging around, how long are you really going to be able to duck him? You know what I mean? He's like a pretty good closer too. So it's kind of been abnormal what we've seen in the last round. I'm getting worried he's going to close one of these out soon, but obviously, us betting guys, we can't take him at under 5-1. So we're going to have to kind of hope that this lasts another week. For me, it's tough. I mean, you look at Brooks, obviously he's won 2 in a row here. He's got off to a much stronger start than we've seen him in previous seasons. He usually comes out pretty slow. He's been in the mix his first 2 events. That's pretty scary. Dustin Johnson looks very good. He's had tremendous success here. Joaquin Niemann's playing really as well as anyone right now in the world. He's kind of all over the top 5 wherever he tees it up. Gooch was, I had him in Vegas. He lost by 1 shot. He lost in a playoff here last year. Like, there's a lot of cases to make for a lot of guys up here. And it's just tough for me to land on one. I didn't really have a conviction for anyone in particular. So I'm going to just roll the dice and skip this range. I think a lot of guys are in play this week, and we've had 2 winners set toward the top of the board, like you mentioned. Maybe we're due for someone a little further down. It's scary, but I think I'm going to just kind of roll the dice and pass.
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page. I think if I were to take someone at the top, it would probably be between Brooks and DJ. Obviously, both having had a lot of success here and both playing really well right now. But like you mentioned, I mean, Neiman coming off of the tournament in Oman, finishing T3, like he's been as hot as anyone. Gooch, like you mentioned, I mean, coming off the runner-up, has a runner-up here. Can see him playing well, but yeah, I think I'm on the same page with you. We'll see. I may take Brooks just to see if he can get the 3-peat, but yeah, I agree with you. Let's get down to the next stage. And it's funny, I mean, with all the success we mentioned these other guys having here, I think that makes it even harder to take someone like Bryson or Cam Smith or Tyrrell Hatton, where, yeah, they're more talented maybe they are more talented than some of the guys in the next range, but they're guys who've had more success here. And, Bryson did look good in Vegas until the final round. And I guess, yeah.
Is it weird to you? Because I mean, for me, I get that he's got a lot of talent, but it's kind of odd seeing Hatton at the numbers that he's at, because on the PGA Tour, like, he wasn't really a bona fide winner. You know, he obviously plays very well and is always kind of in the mix, and he's a great player. I'm not denying that, but to kind of see him right there next to, you know, Neiman and DJ and Brooks, like, I just feel like he doesn't necessarily win at that rate.
Well, and to see him underneath Bryson and Cam Smith, I mean, yeah, I think Hatton, of anyone, is probably the most unbettable in this range. And that doesn't mean that he won't play well this week. I just think strictly value-wise, yeah, I don't see that there. I think he should probably be in this next range, which starts at 27 with Sergio Garcia, Adrian Moronk, both at 27-1. And then we got Louis Oosthuizen, Paul Casey, Dean Burmeister, all at 31. Then Munoz and Patrick Reed, Matt Wolff and Charles Howell, all at 41. We got a ton of guys at 41 on FanDuel right now. Jason Kokrak and Abe Answer as well. And then we're 50 and above. So this is a nice little range here between 27 and 50, with a couple guys we'd already mentioned having some success here. So I'll let you start off the betting.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I'm gonna go with Sergio. 27.
Okay.
27-1. He we saw him at Mayakoba. He lost in a playoff. I mean, it's kind of like, I was on Neiman that week. I'm happy that it went the way it went, but Neiman's first tee shot on that playoff hole, I mean, if that ball bounces any direction other than left back into the rough, Sergio wins that event.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I mean, he lost in a playoff in Singapore last year to Taylor Gooch, where Gooch was like a foot away from hitting it in the water on the playoff hole too. Like, Sergio's kind of inches away from being a two-time winner in the last calendar year. It feels like he's pretty close to getting one of these done. I know he's a little bit older now and obviously past his playing prime, but he's still capable of winning an event in my mind. He came tied for third here each of the last 2 years. So I like him this week. 27. You're kind of at that next range down. I'm gonna take him.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if you're gonna do that or not. So I can appreciate it. Obviously, especially I was worried for you in Mayakoba, because it would have been much more painful to see one of your guys who bet often beat you in a playoff. So he saved you there, and he has looked good. So I don't hate it. 27-1. Yeah, he's interesting because when he's playing well, I feel like on LIV he'll be around this area. But if like, for instance, he doesn't play well this week, I think he kind of floats back down to maybe a 40, 50-1. So has he had success here before?
Yeah, he was he was tied third last year and 2022 in the LIV Jeddah event, and then he's Saudi International. He had a T6 back in 2020, 12th in 2021, a couple other top 25. So he's played well at this course. I think he'll have some confidence, coming to a course that he's had success at. He's obviously, really come close to a win recently to start the year. So I think, Sergio's in a pretty good spot right now. We'll see. Obviously he can, kind of quickly flip. He's been a little inconsistent over the past couple of years, but he looks pretty good right now. So I think it's a fair number at a course that he's played well at. So I'm gonna take it.
All right. Well, I'm gonna start off this week with Matthew Wolff, 41-1. Kind of nice string of appearances here. I mean, he played well this week in Oman, finished T7, shot 11 under. Pretty consistent showing, although he did shoot over par on Saturday, which kind of, I guess, got him out of the mix in terms of actually winning the event, but played well for 3 of the 4 rounds. And he's had success here before, finishing T10 at the Saudi International last year when Abe won. And I don't know. I'm feeling like he's one of those guys that when he hits his ceiling, he's a guy that can win, especially in a shorter field. So I like Wolff at 41-1. I bet him earlier this year at a bigger number, and now he's played well. So I'm going to keep riding him until hopefully we get back in the winner's circuit with Wolff.
Yeah, it's interesting. I considered him. He was on my short list. I think I'm going to pivot just because there's a couple other guys in that range that I like. But he obviously kind of scared us in Vegas because he looked like he had a real chance of winning on Sunday. I think we both had him in Mayakoba, and then didn't take him in Vegas. And then he shows up and he's near winning. And we've had him a ton in the last couple of years. So that would have been kind of painful. But he makes a ton of sense to this course. So I don't hate that at all. I thought about it hard.
Yeah, and I mean, he didn't play great in LIV Jeddah last year, but Wolf's one of those guys where, I mean, we've seen the lows can be pretty bad. So the fact that he does have some success here and is running off some pretty good form, I'll take my chances.
Yeah, it's weird. Like he's talked a lot about like his mental struggles and stuff, and by the end of last year, he was just kind of Brooks was calling him out, and he was in a real bad spot. So
he seems like he's in a better headspace.
Yeah, Bubba, was kind of going through some of the similar stuff. It seems like he's in a better headspace, and he's really playing pretty well right now. So it's good to see him back playing well. He's a nice guy.
Yeah. Yep. So that's where I'm starting, and then I have a feeling, we're both going to be on this next guy.
Yeah,
gotta take Abe here.
We're gonna take Abe. Yeah.
An Abe course.
41
yeah.
He won here, 2023 Saudi International. Same time of the year. Actually, it was. It was early February, but still early in the year. He's played pretty well here last couple of years in the LIV events, being T10, T11, not like threatening a win necessarily, but in the mix. He's kind of had a okay start to the year. Nothing great, but nothing terrible.
Yeah, he's been a little disappointing, I guess, but it's only been 2 events.
Yeah, and then he's like, he's obviously that other style of like not bomber, but he's won here. We've seen McDowell win here. He's going to be accurate. He's going to be in the fairway. I think he's one of those guys that if we do kind of get a little bit of wind this week, it could potentially benefit him. But yeah, I think Abe's kind of a guy who's been consistent at courses that he likes, playing well at. He kind of tends to play well at them. So this is one of them. I think you're getting a pretty fair number here at 41.
Yeah, more than fair. I mean, he's really that's a boost from him not playing well, really. If he's playing like Sergio, he's where Sergio is, because I think you could make a case that Abe has obviously better course history here, since he has one. But yeah, I think we're getting a little Abe discount. I mean, he played in Oman this past week and was, I guess, a little underwhelming. Finished like 38th, T38, only 1 under. But again, I mean, he's playing, so I think he's
getting reps in.
Yeah, getting reps in. That's one way to look at it. So I think, yeah, we're going to take him regardless, but I think we ended up with a pretty good number. So
yeah, I agree. And I could sit here. I mean, I could make really like a whole card out of this range because there's a lot of guys I like here. And my next guy, I mean, I was going to take Wolf, and I'm like, I'm looking at it, and he makes probably more sense than who I'm about to say, but Patrick Reed at 41 to 1 is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
He's one of the more talented guys. I mean, yeah, maybe he's not Brooks, DJ, Rahm level, but he's a very talented player. And he's a guy where when he's in the mix, like he can win.
Yeah, it kind of feels like he and Sergio are those next 2 guys.
Yeah, and like we have talked, I mean, because we've been obviously back in our PGA days, I would take Reed all the time, and I kind of talk about like he hasn't been playing well, but he's not necessarily like a form guy. I mean, he could just kind of pop up and get in the mix and close it out. He could win sort of at any course. Even like so far this year, I mean, he hasn't played well, but it's what we sort of talked about with Cantlay going into the Genesis. He's had low rounds. So like in Mayakoba, he went 64, 73, 73, but he did shoot a 64 in there. Vegas, he was 72, 66, 72. Like he's had good rounds. He just hasn't really put it together. Right. I think you string kind of 2 of those together to start this tournament. All of a sudden, he's kind of a dog, and he's in closer mode. He came 11th and 12th here the last 2 years. Like I just think that number I can't pass on him.
No, and I do like the theory that because a low round in LIV means more than on the PGA Tour at this point. I mean, they're only playing 3 rounds. So like Neiman shooting that, was it the 59 in Mayakoba? Like it's really hard to put yourself out of the mix after shooting a really low round. So
Yeah, you're right, because he didn't really do much after that, to be honest.
No, I think he shot like 1 under to make the playoff, like since the first round. So
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
yeah, it's crazy. So all right, I like that. I'm not a big Reed guy, but I definitely understand the value play there. So anyone else intrigue you before we get deeper? I mean, I kind of thought about Kokrak. He looks pretty good in Vegas too, but I'm not. I feel like I've been off Kokrak for a little while. I don't really feel like getting back on him. So
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know if I'm going to get there. I mean, I thought pretty hard about Peter Uihlein, just because he was obviously very close in Vegas. He finished with 1 shot back, and he's a long hitter. He can kind of bomb his way around this course. But he was kind of like crazy in Vegas, where he was just getting up and down from like we were texting and we're like, how the hell is like Uihlein? Like he was missing greens and then he was getting up and down with ease. It was pretty crazy to watch, but he's coming off a good showing, and then he lost in the playoff here in 2022 to Brooks, and he kind of was in control of that in the back 9 and kind of blew it. But good history, good recent form. I think 50 is a decent number on him. I don't know if Uihlein's not like a winner per se, so it's out of all the guys, I don't know if I'd necessarily land on him, but
you're right.
He definitely makes sense.
Yeah, I mean T11 last year, same line as Answer and Reed, and then has played well. I mean, like you said, played well in Vegas, played well this week in Oman, finished 6th and minus 12. Played well pretty much all 4 days. So, yeah, Uihlein is up there for me too. I'm considering him. And so that now we're at the 50-1 mark and higher. Uihlein, Caleb Surratt, who's had an impressive start. He's actually, I think, 3rd in total birdies in the first 2 events. Harold Varner, as we mentioned, has success here. He's at 50-1. He showed some signs of life in Vegas. And then we got Tringale Ortiz coming off his win in Oman at 65. Mark Leishman, Bubba Watson, who's had success here at 65. Anirban Lahiri, Henrik Stenson, David Puig, Mito Pereira, all at 65. And then we're 70 and above with Steele, Peters, Grace, Richard Bland, Laurie Cantor, Lucas Herbert. And then we're into the true long shots, 100 and above. So from this 50 to 100 range, who kind of piques your interest?
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a few guys. There's a few guys to consider. You mentioned Varner showed some signs of life. Bubba looks like he's playing better lately. It's kind of weird. I mean, he kind of had a feeling when he went to LIV. I mean, at least I did, that he was just kind of over the hill, and but he's kind of showing some signs of life. He looks all right. I think David Puig has got a lot of talent. He was in the mix a lot last year. He's playing pretty well right now, still kind of under his radar on the odds list. They're definitely showing him a little bit more respect than last year when he was going off at like triple digits, but I think that he's going to get one this year. I don't know if this is necessarily the week, but he's interesting. Mito, obviously, he's very talented. Didn't show much of anything yet this year, but he had a really good performance last week and, this week in Oman. Is that enough to kind of pique your interest? 65, you could be getting a good number on a guy who's got the talent.
Yeah, I think that's piqued my interest. I'm going to take Mito at 65. Finished T6 here last year in the Saudi International, 12 under. Where Abe won. Played well at Oman. I feel like this is the best number we're probably going to get on Mito for a while if he plays well again this week. And I think he is a guy with the upside of just playing lights out and winning an event. So I think this range in particular does have upside on guys that can win. So I still like the value down here too. And that's thanks to the top of the board for LIV having, those 7-8 guys at the top of the board that are threats to win every week. You get value on guys like Mito who are starting to turn it around. So I'm going to take Mito 65. I think relative fit for the course. I mean, as you mentioned, it kind of there's different strategies of playing well here, and he's going to win if he's ball striking well. So coming off a good performance in Oman, I'm going to take my shot.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to get there or not, but it's certainly intriguing. I think it's a great number. I'm
Yeah.
going to see how how big I'm making this card. I mean, we did skip the first section, but I already got 3 definites. We're kind of torn between Uline. There's Mito. I got to decide which direction I'm going with it, but he's on the short list depending on how much I expand this card.
Yeah, I think since I'm skipping the top, I'm gonna probably have 4 guys. And I truly think I'm probably starting with Abe and Wolf at 41. So I've kind of opened myself up here for some longer shots, which I'm pretty happy about. So is there anyone over 50 who you're definitely taking?
I'm considering a guy way deeper down there at triple digits. So if you had anyone else in this range, I mean, Thomas Peters, does he pique your interest? I know we've kind of taken Peters before in the past. He had a good first round in Vegas, kind of fell off after that. He's had decent success here before, kind of played it a lot in, the Saudi International prior to LIV. He's been pretty average since joining LIV, and that's kind of being kind. But he obviously is, he probably has the ability to win one of these events. So I don't know. Does 70 do anything for you?
Yeah, it does. He's one of the guys I'm definitely considering down here. I mean, we've seen some signs of life. Yeah, I guess he didn't play in Oman, did he? He probably should have, but he didn't. Yeah, I'm kind of torn right now. I'm interested to see who you're taking over 100 to 1 because yeah, I'm value shopping down here. I like Peters. I am kind of considering Bubba too. I mean, on the PGA tour, I mean, Bubba is a guy you just bet at Bubba tracks, and I don't know if we'd call this a Bubba track, but I mean, I think he's had enough success here to warrant a bet at 65 to 1. So I'm kind of between those two right now in that range.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, Bubba's he's intriguing because, like I said, I mean, I'm pretty surprised to see how he's playing right now.
Yeah, and I think he's very similar to Sergio. I mean, there are going to be weeks where he looks horrible, but then there are going to be weeks like, wow, all right, Bubba could definitely chase this field and win this event. So
100%.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, it's interesting because we do have like it's not necessarily like peaking for the Masters quite yet for the LIV guys who are playing at Augusta. They do have 2 more events before the Masters. They got LIV Hong Kong in March 8th, and then LIV Golf Miami April 5th to 7th. So
I have a question for you, kind of in relation to that. So obviously we're going to take him at the Masters regardless, but Brooks Koepka, I mean, do you think that there's something to like his start to this year where he wants to be more prepared heading to the Masters? Because he won last year in Orlando going into the Masters, but there was no life from him prior to that, and he's a notoriously slow starter. And then we kind of saw him not really have his typical closer stuff at the Masters last year to Jon Rahm, but then he's had a ton of success at like the PGA and the US Open, which is more the middle of the year. Do you think he's kind of like, maybe I shouldn't kind of dog it to start the year because I'm not really in that peak form for the Masters? And this year he kind of got off to an earlier start.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think it's hard to gauge the headspace of some of these guys. And it's also hard to really, I mean, critique how last year went. I mean, he probably, obviously we took him at the Masters and we were very hopeful he was going to win. And he kind of, I don't know if he gagged it. It was a little bit of a combination of Rahm just played really well and he didn't when he needed to. And it was kind of a disjointed Masters, but yeah, I don't know. Him and DJ both seem, and actually a lot of kind of the captains. I mean, even Bryson, Oosthuizen, we've seen guys come out and play better than we had seen them play kind of at the start of the last 2 LIV seasons. So I don't know if it was a conscious decision to kind of ramp things up. DJ, it's hard to read because it's like he said he hadn't picked up a club in like weeks prior to the first LIV event in Mayakoba. And he didn't really play well. And then he played great and won in LIV Vegas. So I don't know. but those two in particular, getting off to good starts and now being at a place that they like is certainly intimidating. So I don't know why you brought me back there, because now I'm feeling like maybe I should take one of them, but
My apologies. Yeah.
yeah, but
Well, there's also to spin it the other way. There's an element of like this is. I mean, I guess last year to a degree, but Brooks has been really injured for a while. He kind of just seems back to being healthy now.
yeah,
I think a lot of time off, definitely helped that. So maybe he didn't necessarily need that long off season. Now with the shorter schedule, less rounds throughout the year, maybe he didn't really need to take that much time to rest in the off season. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. This is like big time, like Brooks legacy years ahead of us, because he's
It's just
still
weird
like,
because for
I
as
could see
long
him
as
winning. Like, I could see him winning two or three majors this year.
yeah, I mean, yeah, which sounds like oh my god, but it's not really crazy. I mean, last year he could have easily won two, and like for as long as we've really been, following and watching, and like you just kind of expect that Brooks is going to suck from like January to March, and then he's going to turn up at Augusta and play well. So to kind of see him in the mix the first two events was really surprising to me, and it's kind of scary, to be frank.
Yeah, well, it's scary, but it's also great because I think he's going to win a Masters. So
Yeah, I mean, scary for everybody else. No.
yeah, true, yeah, yeah, and that reminds us that if you haven't yet, probably should lock in Brooks tickets at the Masters.
Yeah, because we kind of discussed this, if he wins this week in Jeddah, I don't think his number it's only going to get worse.
Right, and then obviously he won in Orlando last year, and we still have that event before the Masters as well. So, yeah. All right. So, who is your triple-digit long shot?
Triple-digit long shot. I think I'm going to take Graham McDowell.
All right. So this comes full circle because you've been talking about Graham. Obviously, took him last week, or not last week, last event. All right, what the hell is he at?
He's at 150.
150. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, he's won here before.
Yeah.
He's won here before. He came top 5 in Vegas. I mean, I don't know if like GMAC, I don't know. I mean, it's weird. It's like, I don't know if he can necessarily beat all these guys in this field, but he seems to sort of be rejuvenated. He had a pretty good fall stretch where, I mean, he didn't win anything, but he played 3 events kind of in that off season where he finished, I think, inside the top 14 or whatever of all of them. He didn't play great in Mayakoba, but then he comes top 5 last week in Vegas. He plays really well on Sunday. He's now with his boy Brooks and Team Smash. He's not with the loser cliques where there's no motivation to really do anything. I don't know. I think maybe there is wins this week and it plays tough and it plays into GMAC's hands. I don't know. But
yeah, 150 is very fair.
He's piquing my interest, especially coming off last week. I mean, he's played really well here before. He's got this new motivation. He's obviously older, but him and Brooks are boys. It seems like they got something going right now.
All right. You may have sold me on that. You may have sold me on that. There are some just interesting names down here in general. I mean, we haven't talked about him much because he really just hasn't done shit. But I was expecting a lot more of Sam Horsfield when he signed with LIV. He's kind of
because we were big fans of him.
Yeah, we were betting him in the DP World Tour, and I definitely bet him a few times. And since in the 15, 16 LIV events there have been so far, and he's been horrible. And he's 120 to 1 he's been 120 to 1 for a reason. That's what it is. Kind of crazy that McDowell's further down the board than he is. So yeah, obviously Phil 210 to 1.
Yeah, I mean Phil's always, I guess, kind of you never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah,
we did roll the dice on that one in Vegas, and he was good for like 3 holes, and then
he was bad. But I think the strategy stays the same. If you feel like I won't hate on anyone for still betting Phil in these events. Because
I think there's an element of like you never know what the heck he's gonna do. Like I don't. Yeah, he's so far down the list. I don't think it's ever a bad move, but we just can't be taking Phil every week.
Yeah. So
there is obviously the elephant in the room. I don't know if you want to get into it. Anthony
Oh,
Kim might be back this week.
yeah.
He's not currently on the odds list. There's rumors that he's playing. We haven't been able to get any confirmation on anything. Kind of seems like there's enough smoke where it might be legit. If he's
Yeah,
there,
at this point, I kind of feel like I'd be more surprised if he's not playing, because it has kind of been propped up so much. And there have been some, I don't know if you want to say like verifiable sources, but I mean, Daniel Rappaport of Barstool has a pretty big following. For him to be insinuating that AK is definitely playing this week, I don't think he would necessarily put his reputation on the line if he wasn't going to play. So I think, yeah, there's enough smoke, there's fire. I think he's going to be there this week. And we've seen people talk about it. It's definitely going to increase their viewership. It 100% is.
I mean, I guess
he might end up being their biggest signing if he plays well. If he finishes inside the top 20, they're going to have a whole new marketplace of fans.
I think everybody is just like so intrigued to see what, like, just even get eyes on him. I mean, we haven't seen the guy for 12 years. Yeah. There's been random photos of him that popped up. There was one random video of him hitting balls on a range. We don't even know when it was from. There's a picture of him at a barbecue drinking a White Claw. Other than that, we don't know what the hell the guy's been up to. He hasn't talked to anyone. Like, this is like, he's coming back. It's crazy. Because, I mean, this is, for the longest time, there was like, oh, what's the one thing in golf? Like, everyone was like, oh, I wish Anthony Kim would come back, like thinking it's not going to happen. Now it sounds like he's coming back. He's not on the official fields list. We don't know what his odds are going to be. I imagine he's going to be triple digits, I would hope. Unless they really are going to fuck us. But we're going to have to, obligated to take him, I guess.
Yeah, if he's over 100 to 1, I'm taking him.
Yeah. I haven't got confirmation, but it kind of seems like LIV has done a good job of keeping things quiet until they're like here. Even with the Rom thing, everyone kind of knew it was coming, but no one really admitted it from the inside circle. Right. We were kind of talking about it. I tried to message some people, and they were like, I don't know. I have no idea. And I'm like, come on. Like, you guys are all there. How do you not know?
Knows. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, I feel like if he wasn't playing and they would be like, nah, like he's, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think he's going to be there. Which it's going to be cool. It's going to be cool to see. What are you expecting from him?
I have no idea. I mean, he was so talented. I feel like you don't lose that flair and like the talent, but tournament golf is different. So it's hard to say. It's like, I think just seeing one good round will probably be enough to be like, all right, he's still got it. And then just repetitions alone, I think will get him to a place where he could he's not old, what is he, like late 30s?
Yeah, I would say that's probably right. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because he takes so much time off. Like, I don't think he comes back if he thinks he's going to suck. There's really no upside of doing that. I don't know if he necessarily thinks he's going to step in and win, but I'm not expecting him to be like horrible. Like, what would be the point of coming back and being terrible? Like, I feel like he's got to be pretty confident in his game right now to choose now to come back, because really he can come back whenever he wants.
Yeah. And also he didn't really, he had no pressure to do anything. Like,
exactly.
There's no reason for him to do this unless he feels like he can play. So yeah, that could be a whole new ball game if he like all of a sudden looks really good. And then I don't know. Yeah, it opens up a whole can of worms with Anthony Kim to see where we can go from here. Obviously, it would start with LIV, and then who knows? We haven't gotten any word on any mergers or anything like that. A lot of the LIV guys are still complaining about the OWGR points, which makes sense. It's been over 2 years, and I think a lot the younger guys in particular, they're getting pissed because they had been promised that they were going to be getting points, and like Neiman obviously got an exemption and got an invite to the Masters, which is great. But there are a lot of other young talented guys here that could be wasting some prime years for the majors if they don't get something figured out soon. And so
yeah, you even look at what what Taylor Gooch did last year. He won 3 times on LIV. He looked really good, but he didn't qualify for the PGA Championship or the US Open.
Right.
It was kind of, I mean, I guess you can't. They knew what they were getting themselves into. I somewhat see that argument, but at the same time, as a fan of the sport, if you are going into majors knowing that we don't have all the best players, it kind of is a little bit like, come on, we all want to see the top guys play. We need
Right.
to
Well,
figure
that's like
out.
both things can be true. Like, yeah, they knew what they were getting themselves into, but also for the state of golf, like, yeah, the majors are supposed to have the best players in the world. So when you can objectively see that they're some of the best players that aren't getting in based on the regular qualifications, like something needs to be figured out. So
Yeah, it's interesting because I mean, Bryson has come out and said they did everything they need to do to get points. They met all the requirements. I'm not like a world golf ranking expert. I don't know the answer to that, but he seems to be pretty set that that's the case. We've seen Dan Rappaport, who's like not really the most pro live guy, but he's kind of been playing this middle ground. He has taken an interesting position, which I rarely agree with him, but I agree with him on this one, where it should be the World Golf Rankings job to come up with a system to rank the best players, not the leagues to fit their requirements. Like their job is to rank the best players in the world. Now, because LIV is a new league, it shouldn't be like you should figure out a way to rank those guys. However it may be, it's now a legitimate thing that some of the best players in the world are playing here. We watched Dustin Johnson fall to like 143 or whatever he is. Like, obviously your rankings are shit if that's where he's at.
Right. Yeah. And that's going to be the argument. And then the further time goes on with Rahm, that's when it gets egregious because he was a top 3 player in the world in his prime, makes a move to LIV. So now you don't really have the arguments that they tried to have with Brooks and DJ, where they're kind of just giving up their careers and they don't really care anymore. Besides the fact that Brooks obviously put those those thoughts to bed because he played great at the Masters and won the PGA. And we had seen other guys, Phil, Reed, play well at the Masters. We've seen LIV guys play well in the majors, and they're clearly not just throwing in the white flag with the rest of their major career. They would love to play well in those events, and they're still some of the best players. So it's like, what are we doing here?
The narrative has gotten kind of funny the way it's been spun, and we kind of talk about this a lot, but like when they last year, the guys who won the first couple of LIV events were not the biggest names. You had Charles Howell win, you had Danny Lee win, and you saw all those people say, oh, the top names, they don't care about the LIV events, like this league is a joke. Now you see Joaquin Neiman win and Dustin Johnson win, and the top guys are dominating the leaderboards. And now the argument has flipped to like, well, of course they're going to be at the top of the leaderboard because the field is so bad below them. You know what I mean? So there's no, like, the way people are judging the league, there's nowhere where they can win because if the top players are playing well and winning, they say the rest of the league's a joke. When the bottom guys are playing well, it's not that the bottom guys are now legitimate. It's that the top guys don't care.
Right. Yeah.
So there's no winning from like a public perception. We've seen it go both ways, and the league got criticized both ways. So it's kind of like, what are we doing here?
Right. Yeah. And that's why I think AK, which is where this conversation started, if he comes in and plays well, it just adds more fuel to their fire in terms of getting more eyes on their product. So I think Rahm and AK in particular are 2 guys that really can move the needle in terms of, I think, getting stuff done, which is funny that a guy who's been retired for 13 years could come back and potentially push that forward for them. But I think that that's definitely true. So yeah, let's wrap this up. AK back this week, very exciting. LIV Jeddah, ton of success at this course. My card as of now is going to be Abe, Wolf, Mito, and then need to decide on Peters, Bubba, and I may jump on McDowell with you as well. And the longer I sit with this, we'll see. We have still 5 days before this tournament starts, so I may end up pulling the trigger on Brooks or DJ. But for now, I'll probably let that lie. Maybe look into a live line on one of them if either of them gets off to a slower start or someone goes off really hot and we can maybe get them closer to 20. But that's where I'm at.
Yeah, right now I have Sergio Answer Reed, and then I'm going to go GMAC deep. And if AK is in the field and he's at triple digits, I will be taking him for just kind of a you have to do it type of thing, obligatory bet. And then obviously that's already would be 5 guys, so that's kind of a big card as is. 2 of them are triple digits deep. There's small consideration if I really want to extend it that Peter Uline could make the cut because there's a lot that he makes sense about him this week.
Yeah. All right. So that's our LIV Jeddah preview. Tune in this week as we'll be dropping our preview for the PGA Tour event tomorrow. The Cognizant seems like a pretty decent field, and I need all the positive vibes we can get, boys. I need Jake Knapp to close it today.
We're hoping for you to get the PGA Tour win closed out today. Knapp, get it done from our boy Owen. And if you're new LIV listener, because obviously we were primarily PGA Tour in the past, make sure to give us a like or some positive reviews if you like the podcast. We're obviously branching off into a different type of audience right here for some of the LIV previews. So make sure to hit that like button and give positive review if you like it.
Beautiful. All right. Thanks again for listening. We'll talk to you guys soon.